Okay, hello. Hi, I'm Collin Miller. I've been developing with Ruby and JavaScript since the spring of 2006, and I'd like to start off by dedicating this to everybody because you're all awesome. I want to say, oh yes, give yourself a round of applause. I want to say I'm going to start getting into some things that could be risky to implement right now. This topic is way too big for 20 minutes because it's real-time web applications, so we'll see where it goes. I'm going to lie and skip some details every once in a while just to move things along. So forewarning. This is Douglas Engelbart. He's the father of hypertext. He did some wiki concepts, things with shared to-do lists, modern GUIs, and multi-user interfaces, which is kind of what excites me. That's sort of real-time applications. One more thing, he invented the mouse, as in patent. That's kind of exciting. That was 1968. They gave the mother of all demos, as it's been known, showing off some of the fundamental ideas behind everything we do as web developers. They made this stuff at the height and the epicenter of American counterculture. Good revolution. And yes, there were drugs involved. That's why this slide is in silly colors. We've got our own counterculture. It's got a slightly smaller scope, and it's probably not as much fun. But why not? It's too mainstream. So we have some counterculture that's springing up. And if you want to be as cool as Engelbart and those guys, you've got to be more subversive like this. As far as the acid, you decide. Douglas himself was disappointed. Back to Engelbart. Real-time collaboration over network computers is what we're talking about here. After they gave that demo, 20 years later, we have the mother of all platforms, the pinnacle of the computer counterculture, and all the exciting stuff is over. We finished, go home, the web browser has been invented. Not yet. This guy, Alan Kay, credited with pioneering OO, the windowed interface. He worked at Xerox PARC, lots of awesome stuff. He built systems to let children program, like Squeak, and if you've seen Seaside, it's built on top of that. What these guys did and why it's relevant is they ignored boring stuff. Web programming is not boring. For example, Gmail. The first time I used this application, it excited the crap out of me. I was like, this browser can do that? A complete shitstorm. Ajax. Rails, time surplus. Everybody wants to be Rails. Lolcats and presentations. Thank you. But really, the most exciting thing about Ajax, about Gmail, wasn't Ajax. You didn't have to check your email. Your mail checked you from a web browser. And so it's exciting because it's in a web browser, but that's not Ajax. So what is this Comet thing? Is it a new protocol? Is it a specter from the past? Is it asked backwards? Is it client server? Is it another hack? Well, let's earn the title of our talk. It's real-time web apps, and the scandal of it all is it's easy. It's really easy. Don't let Meebo and Facebook fool you into thinking you have to do a custom rig with Erlang. Although, to be fair, Meebo was doing this a long time ago. Facebook should know better. And it's not so much Erlang that's a problem. Erlang is awesome. It's a great back-end solution. But if you go look at their JavaScript namespace and see what they do just to get a transport, it's not cool. Don't be fooled into thinking you need huge new specs either, like Bayou. It's interesting, but don't reinvent the wheel. Especially when the wheel you're reinventing is the socket. Yay, sockets. Strange European sockets, I don't know. The API for Websocket is pretty simple. That's Websocket. It's in the spec for HTML5, so it's coming down the pipe. You open a socket. It's kind of boring. There's 3 callbacks. You get on read, on open, and on close. Okay? You can also send data, so it's a full duplex spec. Orbited is I'm sorry about this, it's a Python server. It provides a WebSocket API in our favorite browsers, and I'm pretty sure they have Chrome, but this is an old picture. The Orbited daemon acts as a security control between the browser and the evil, evil world of TCP, because you don't just want to have your browser connecting to any old TCP socket. That could be pretty dangerous. But it tunnels over HTTP. It's got lots of transports. It'll find the best transport for the browser that you're currently in. The server Orbited daemon serves up a Orbited.js, which just has a long list of transports that it'll try to use. It'll go long polling, iframe, XHR stream, HTML file. And once HTML5 becomes a reality, we'll have native WebSockets. So that's kind of exciting. So the next time Gmail comes around, don't lose your head thinking, whoa, Ajax. Don't worry about how you're going to get the data to the browser. Just smile, relax, and think XMPP and IMAP. Of course, just set up the right server, and it's protocols. Woo, yay, protocols. We get to think more about protocols instead. So there's a life outside of HTTP. And you can have it with JS.io is the sister project to Orbited. They're working on a lot of protocols such as AMQP, IMAP, IRC, XMPP, LDAP, SMTP, SSH. I don't know if I've said anything twice. Telnet, Stomp. And your current messaging architecture, which might look like this, probably speaks more than one of those protocols. Ezra talked about RabbitMQ yesterday for Nanite, I think, and you can connect to that, say, with Stomp for publish and subscribe. But I don't want to get too specific about implementation details because it's a huge, huge topic. Most of those protocols are in progress. They're not finished. But heck, it's a protocol. If you need it, read the spec, implement it. It's not like you're inventing anything new when you write a protocol for XMPP. I think they do have XMPP, IRC, Stomp, and Telnet complete right now, or at least partially complete. Or you could pay someone with more experience to write it. I think protocols are wonderfully exciting. It's not a black hole project. You know it's complete because it matches the spec. It'd be great to see some development going on in JS.io. All right, where is Merb? Because it's Merb in real-time applications. Merb is over here. It's right above and to the left of Firefox, which is the browser you should be using, although you can do this with Internet Explorer. So they do request, response, that's how they do it. Orbited is next to Merb. They're pals. Firefox talks to Orbited too, but it's full duplex. It's TCP over HTTP. And that's a service. Maybe your mail server, maybe XMPP, maybe a trusted third party. But heck, why not Memcache to your database? Well, there's lots of good reasons for that, but it could be. You could literally hook your database right to your client. And then Merb talks to the service, hey, deliver this message, cache this key value, and we do that. You know, we send email by connecting to these back-end services. And I think Matt Todd is going to talk more about that later today. So it's a big, happy family. But it's a little smaller because you get to work with it like it looks like this. Firefox talks to the service. You sort of, once Orbited is there, sort of blocking off the nasty parts of TCP that you don't want the browser to connect to, you get to think of it, Firefox talks to the service sort of the same way that talks to Merb. So the service says, hey, you got a new email, or hey, I found that cached object you want. Orbited is a firewall. Don't worry about it too much. Probably once WebSocket gets implemented by the browser vendors somewhere around 2022, this will just be a common feature in, say, your firewall or your some server, that it'll say, route out those WebSocket requests. So that's it right there. The point is that it's not always going to be just about Merb and real-time web applications. It's more of a question, HTTP or whatever other protocol is more appropriate. Use HTTP when it makes sense, so you need access to that MVC stack of Merb, or you need REST for caching. So use HTTP for its purpose and use everything else for everything else. I got a message on GitHub that the Merb core team members are going to release sometime after 1.0, I think in 1.1, a solution for real-time notifications using multiple backends, such as XMPP, email, SMS, or whatever you can write a backend for. So it's similar to the Merb mailer, just going over more protocols. So that'll be sort of a nice way to have Merb talk to that service before the service sends information back to the browser. That's what I have there. Well, oh crap, this didn't take as long as 20 minutes. This was the point where I was going to have a live example, but my laptop doesn't want to talk to the projector. It's on GitHub. If you check it out, it's github.com/ it's gist-live. What it is there's about 3 servers you have to start. I should give some instructions at some point. I'll write them up, but it is using a library that's used by Google Docs, which is the real-time Word application. And it's a diff match patch algorithm. So it's a bookmarklet for gist. You click on it, you get little edit links on the gist. You click on that link, you start to edit it, but you get a URL that you can pass on to anyone else. And if they open that URL, you're both editing that gist in real time together with syntax highlighting. I wish I could show it off, but Kubuntu, wonderful. Got to get a Mac. So after that wonderful, that was going to be a few minutes, I was going to go on and say, so look, that's just a crummy little throwaway prototype that I built in an afternoon, and we're doing real-time collaborative, you'll have to take my word for it, editing of code from gist, so that's pretty cool. So if you can build that in an afternoon, where are the real-time web applications? Funny thing, Google does have a couple, but the sad thing is this search, as of this morning, returned a blog post from 2005 about Ajax. Like I said, I wanted to get back to Alan, the pioneer of, OO. It might be relevant. He says, invent the future, which I take to mean ignore boring stuff. We've got this incredible base to get us into the browser with Merb, but we have to do some truly awesome stuff once we get there. And that means invention. And I'm not kidding when I bring up Engelbart and Kay. I think we're doing important things here. There is just as much to invent today as there was when they were inventing, or 500 years ago for that matter. So don't despair and don't do boring stuff. I'm saying this because, social network is a gem, a few of them as far as I can tell. I can't tell you what to do to have your work be influential 40 or 50 or hundreds of years from now, but I have an idea of something not to do. Don't be satisfied with HTTP. Don't be satisfied with your framework, even if it is totally awesome. Don't be satisfied with your tools. I mean, Firebug is awesome. Use it all the time. It's probably my favorite tool, but it kind of sucks. It's great for editing style sheets until you want to, create a selector, and it's great for editing the DOM. Well, no, it's not good for editing the DOM. But, I'm just trying to get to the point of course it's not those things. Just like PHP isn't Rails, and Rails isn't Merb, and Firefox isn't Mosaic, and the light bulb isn't a gas lamp, and Merb doesn't provide a socket API. You've just got to look at something and see what it isn't. A loaf of bread doesn't have slices. And don't be afraid to fill in the missing pieces or cut them apart, as the case might be. So please invent something. You probably see what something isn't in one of the most profound ways. And please invent big. Tackle a big problem. Small inventions are like alias method chain. They don't take much time or thought. Well, alias method chain might take more thought than it's worth. But when you don't unleash your ideas upon the world, you are saying, my ideas are not worth your time. I am not excited about my ideas. I think you should be excited about your ideas. You should think that they're worth our time. Unleash them. Get excited. Life is too short not to be excited by what you're doing. So what I'm trying to say is that HTTP is boring. It's important, but if your web app only uses HTTP, you're ignoring a lot of awesome things that you can do. Inventing something is pretty sweet. If you can see something that really isn't, you can have an influence in the world, and the only limit is the size of your thinking and the harsh realities of the cruel world that wants to smash you, but that's depressing. So I just want to say, Merb rocks. It's totally awesome. Woohoo. But don't be satisfied, because whatever Merb isn't rocks a lot harder. And that's me. I'm on GitHub, I have Gmail, sometimes I'm on IRC. I guess I will probably take some questions if anybody has any.
Can you just repeat what the URL for the demo is?
Oh, yeah. So it's my GitHub account. It says GitHub / it should be gist-live. I'm pretty sure I put it up there. If it's not there, I will, as soon as I sit down, push it, give some explanations on how to start the server, and tell people in IRC.
Hi. How does Orbitz compare to Juggernaut or Comet, the Dojo's implementation?
Okay. Where it compares to Juggernaut is unless they've changed this recently, the Flash Socket API won't connect to ports under 1024, so that makes it kind of hard to use in firewalled environments because you can use orbited over port 80. And where it compares to the Dojo implementation of sort of real-time information is that I understand they're using a spec there called Bayou, which is interesting. They're building a new protocol, but personally I think just starting with the socket level and then building pre-existing protocols on top of that is a lot smarter of an idea than trying to build a protocol and then maybe build protocols on top of that protocol. Is that it? Thank you.